I'm going to give a shout out to Gord Downey, one of the best Canadian artists of all time. Basically, Steve Nash has had a career that I would say has been tragically hip. And by hip, I'm talking about Robert Horry hip checking him into the sidelines. Let's talk 7 seconds or less. Justin, let's start with that series. I mean, 2007, Game 4. I think it was a 2-1 series. Amare Stoudemire and a very thin Boris Diaw ran onto the court. What do you think? I mean, was this a historic, monumental moment in NBA history?
It wasn't a 2-1 series. That was in Game 6, and those guys got suspended for the decisive 7th game. And that ended up being a close game, too. If Amare Stoudemire and Boris Diaw aren't suspended, the Phoenix Suns and Steve Nash win an NBA championship because they would beat the Cavaliers in the next round. Even the Spurs have come out and said that if those guys were in that game, they win that game and they win the championship, which would completely change how we look at the 7 seconds or less Suns, how we look at D'Antoni, and really that team laid the groundwork for the Golden State Warriors and what they've been able to do recently. Boris Diaw played that Draymond Green role, space and pace. It's everything that the modern NBA is about.
Shawn Marion
has been taken from there. Yeah, Shawn Marion as well, the original small ball four.
Raja Bell, 3 and D.
Yeah.
A lot of those guys, same play. That was brutal, and I can't believe the NBA didn't actually go back and say like, listen, I get it. Their point guard got wrecked into the stands. They didn't do anything. They just walked away. I get it. But like, maybe say you miss one game out of the next series or something. But as the NBA, you're trying to put the best product forward in terms of entertainment. You can't say that sitting that version of Amare Stoudemire, who was arguably the most entertaining big in the game at that point, him and KG maybe, was like, you're sitting him and Boris Diaw. Exactly. What Justin said makes tons of sense. They would have been there. And you know what? For the NBA, having Steve Nash as your MVP and going to the finals, like that's that generation's version of what Steph Curry's doing right now, right? He's that guy that 6'3", kind of like not overly big, that a lot of players can be like, oh, I can be like him. You know, there's a lot of guys like that. And I think the NBA actually would have benefited. I mean, I wouldn't want to take the ring away from Timmy Duncan to give any reason to pick Kobe over Duncan. But it was sad.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was Game 4, but we'll check afterwards. Just as it's Game 6, I remember the game afterwards where they played hurt, and they're like basically the wounded cat. Probably one of the best basketball games of my life. Steve played out of his mind. And you also have to remember in that series, Steve got the bloody nose in Game 1, and Greg Popovich was the guy who said, "Let him play, and they had to take him out of the game. You mentioned obviously the Steve Nash to Steph Curry comparison. A lot of comparisons there. They were both guys who played at smaller schools, didn't really get recruited, kind of very much outliers in the NBA. But here's an interesting comparison. What about Draymond Green to Shawn Marion? Shawn Marion was guarding Tony Parker in that series. Either one of you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love Shawn Marion. I mean, from those, like, I'm still pissed they let go of Joe Johnson. From the moment they put together that team, when they had Steve Nash, Joe Johnson, Shawn Marion, Amare Stoudemire, I was like, man, if you keep these guys together, it's over.
Yeah.
But being specific to Shawn Marion, I mean, apart from one of the possibly ugliest shots in NBA history, or being maybe a top 10 contender, you know, his ability, as you said, to not only guard the 1 through, even in today's NBA, he could probably guard some 5 because he was guarding bigger guys in that generation. He was hitting corner threes. He rarely took poor shots. Great pick and roll guy. Great defender on every level. And let's not forget, he had gaudy rebounding numbers, steals and block numbers from what was a small forward, power forward position. And he was, I would almost say, outside of what Draymond brings on an emotional leadership level, total talent, I actually preferred what Marion brought than Draymond.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think Shawn Marion's a future Hall of Famer. Like, he should be a future Hall of Famer. Not just for his stats, which are borderline Hall of Fame worthy, but the way he changed the game, his influence and his impact on the game, the way that he played as a small ball four. I think that's enough to get him some serious consideration.
There was a movie a few years back called Tucker about this guy in the auto industry who invented a car in the 50s that was way ahead of its time. So basically, all the other auto people in the industry got rid of him. They were scared of how different and how vastly ahead of the curve it was, and basically got shunned from the industry. I think that's Mike D'Antoni and what he did with 7 seconds or less. I mean, like you guys mentioned, the game today, I mean, the Spurs, Golden State, OKC, all these teams have so much influence on what, Mike and Steve and all these guys did in an era where no one else was doing what they did. And it's nice to see Mike D'Antoni finally back head coaching a game again, a team again. And just to bring it all back full circle, going to Draymond, Steven Adams, protect your Kiwis tonight.